What's going on, Blerds, nerds, and everybody in between? It's your boy Wyatt, the sensei of the syndicate, and we are here with our first ever Just BSing episode. So this is just going to be our interview series where we talk to a lot of people and get the skinny on a lot of nerd culture and Blerd culture things that I just wanted to talk to some really cool people. So this is going to be the opportunity that we get to do that. So first and foremost, I want to introduce our guest. His name is Jeremy. He is actually, did you start and found the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo? So,
Yep.
so every year that I've heard about it, I think I've been going to it for at least the last 5. I've been going there. I've got pictures with my son when he was super small and things like that, where there's cosplayers and things like that. So I wanted to get behind and talk to the man who started it all, kind of like the Stan Lee of, of the Comic Expo here at Huntsville. So how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm recovering from an injury, but nothing can slow me down.
Yeah, man. We were talking about it before, but it's kind of grueling, especially since it's like less than 2 weeks before the expo, so you've got to be busy.
Yeah, long story short, for those tuning in, I was in Alaska on work and slipped on ice and fell right on my back and cracked a rib. So if at any moment I make a really weird face, it's because I breathed wrong or something. Because
It's
yeah,
not
it's
something I said.
yeah.
So well, that's well. I'm definitely sorry to hear that, man. But I wanted to get like your comic book origin on how you got started. You know what things that you like as far as that's concerned, because it's super rare that you find somebody that, and you're so accessible to have like an expo. So how did you come to that?
Sure. So my brother is 2 years older than me, and we've been collecting comics since we were a kid. I was always into Flash, and he was always into Green Lantern. I mean, we collected, Marvel and DC, Captain America, Spider Man, whatever. So I've always been into comics. And then about 11 or so years ago, I was waiting tables and not the best income for a small family, and so. I started buying and selling comics on the side. I'd look on Craigslist. This is well before Facebook Marketplace, but I'd look on
Mhm.
Craigslist and find collections and pick them up and sell them and, make extra money. Well, I kept doing that and kept getting more and more stuff that somebody was like, you need to start doing shows. And so I was like, I don't know about that. Well, then I lost my job and I was like, well, I'll try doing shows. So I would go to Nashville to do a show, to Birmingham to do a show, to Atlanta, Chattanooga, or whatever. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. And my thought was, why isn't there something like this in Huntsville? Huntsville is
Mhm.
a quite the nerdy town. Lots of engineers and smart people with large salaries. Why is there nothing here? And I went and talked to one of the local comic shop owners, and he was like, well, we tried it back in 97 and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, things are different now. This was
Mhm.
about 2015 or so. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I wish there was something here. Well, then I did a show up in Tennessee. It was a 2-day show, small venue. There was about maybe 20 vendors, and there was not that many people. There was more vendors than people came through the door. And so
Mhm.
a 2-day show, I left at 1 o'clock on Saturday. I was like, this is not worth my time because I'd missed my son's soccer game that morning. I was like, this is not
Mhm.
worth it. And on the whole drive home, about 2 hours, I was thinking, it doesn't take a lot to advertise. You can make a Facebook group, you can do Craigslist ads, you can do all this stuff. And so I'm sitting there thinking everything he should have done.
Mhm.
And I get home and I'm telling my wife, Emily, about it. And she was like, well, is it something you just need to do your own show? I'm like, well, in a way, I've been planning a show for the last 2 hours.
Mhm.
All the things that you could do to make it successful. And so that week, I found a venue. This would have been spring of 2015. I found a venue, about 11,000 square feet. It was pretty cheap. And so I hatched the idea. But, and to say I didn't know what I was doing when I started is an overstatement. I had no clue. like I started the Facebook page and I started getting these messages. How much are vendor booths? How much are artist tables? I was like, oh, I don't know. I hadn't got that far. And so, but yeah, so I started touring it around to get the word out. I would go to other shows like Magic City Con or Geek Gathering, and pass out flyers for the show. Hey, it was a 1-day show, about 11,000 square feet, no guests, pretty much just vendors and some panels. And we did a cosplay contest, and we actually had a band play in the middle of the show. That was a terrible idea because it was so loud. But everyone enjoyed it, and so I quickly knew that we needed to move to a larger venue. So then we went to the BBC North Hall for 2 years, and then we ended up at South Hall, and now we're all of South Hall. And who knows what the future holds? We may be all of VBCs. There's even more room to grow, but now, we started 11,000 square feet, and now we're about 140,000 square feet in 3 days.
Yes. So, like I've always wondered, how do you go from like you said, the first year didn't have any guests or anything like that. Like, how do you get those people to like sign? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's something that. So funny enough, I just assumed, there was like a Rolodex out there with, contact information for comic book guests and, different kind of guests, but there's not. And so that first year, so the first year we were at North Hall, the first year we had guests, our 4 guests were David Yost, Joey Fatone, Mike Grell, and Chris Claremont. And David Yost, I met him at Dragon Con and was just talking to him and told him about the show. And he was like, yeah, just message me on my social media and we'll get connected. I was like, okay, cool. So then that week, so that would have been, September. So I messaged him, never get a response. And then out of nowhere in January, like 3 months before the show, he messages me. He's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I just saw this. Yes, I'd love to do your show. I was like, oh, okay. And then I met an agent at Dragon Con, and that's who we got Joey Fatone and Mike Grell through. And then, sorry. Chris Claremont, I just sent a message to his website. And in fact, like when I got a response, I was like, oh, this is probably fake. He's not coming. And then it wasn't until he got off the plane and I saw him, and it was almost like a surprise to see him, even though I was at the airport to pick him up. I just thought there's no way Chris Claremont is doing my show. That's too big of a name to come do, this little show. And so I just thought I was getting punked the whole time. But he came off the plane. I was like, oh, wow. I was not expecting that. But yeah. And so, but basically to get guests, it is that face-to-face contact at other shows. I'll go to other shows and, meet guests, meet agents. And then as I've grown now, I've got a network of agents. So if I've got a guest in mind, I'll message one of my agents and say, hey, who represents such and such? And they'll put me in contact with them, because there's a lot of agents out there, because there's a lot of guests out there. So, but yeah, it's always growing and networking.
So do you have like a unicorn guest, like one that you want to get that's like just not you're like, oh man, if I ever get this one, this is going to be.
Well, people have asked me if money wasn't an issue, was not an option, what one guest would you get? And without hesitation, it's always Mark Hamill. That would be the ultimate guest. I mean, there's a lot on that level, but before he passed, it would have been Stan Lee too. But yeah, if I could get any guest, it would be Mark Hamill.
Definitely. That would be really cool, because then after that you would get people for not only Star Wars, but also like Batman the Animated Series, things like that. So and I always hear that he's such like a really genuine person, just like talking with people and having good conversations.
Yeah, and he's one I've actually never met, so I would do it selfishly just to meet him.
I mean, you got to have some perks at doing all of this. So,
right.
So what part, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have, like putting this together every year?
Well, the biggest challenge is the cancellations,
Mhm.
of guests. It's something that we can't control. And I'll just say this: nobody likes it when a guest cancels. The guest doesn't like it. The show doesn't like it. The fans don't like it. But I mean, because we had a couple of wrestlers have to cancel because they have to now wrestle that weekend.
Mhm.
They were free, now they're not. We had actually, I've been dealing with it all week. Lou Ferrigno was, we thought he was going to have to cancel because he is in a show that is premiering at the end of April on Paramount Plus, and they're doing the big red carpet rollout
Mhm.
of it on April 20th, which is 2 days before the show. So he wouldn't be able to come until Friday. And then there was an issue with the airlines changing his flight and everything, but we worked it out. Now instead of him not coming, he's just going to be like an hour late to the show on Friday. He's going to come straight from the airport to the show because he wants to see his fans. So it's all those external things, and I mean, obviously, COVID was a big challenge, but
Mhm.
we got through that. Um, but yeah, I would say the cancellations are always tricky.
Yeah. So to all those people that send you those nasty grams, just let you know he's not doing it on purpose. It's not something that you can really control. There are other grown ups that are involved in this situation. So get off my man's back.
Right. Well, and two, it's one thing like when someone cancels, like when the wrestlers cancel, it was about 2 months before the show, so we were able to replace them.
Mhm.
And I don't like having empty spots, but and so we try to replace. But I mean, if anybody cancels, between now and the show because of something, obviously that's way too short to get someone
Yeah.
to fill it. So we don't always replace, but we do our best to put on a good show with multi fandom interests across the board, guest wise and content wise.
Now, is there certain genres that are easier to fill? Like, I know you have wrestlers, you have voice actors, you have people from movies, actors, like those kind of things. Are there?
I think the easiest guests to get are the voice actors, because I mean, and this is just pure speculation. But they're not filming, like their filming schedule isn't as grueling as like someone, a main character from Walking Dead.
Mhm.
I mean, Walking Dead is obviously already wrapped, but they're on set, or we're on set, all day, every day for weeks at a time. Whereas, voice actors, they'll, record several episodes or more,
Mhm.
in one sitting. Um, but I mean, there's no more important guest than another type, some people that just come for the anime guests, some people just come for the wrestlers, some people just come for the vendors. So we got to put extra, or not extra, but equal effort into every avenue of the expo.
So with the vendors and things like that, so how have you seen that grow over the last 7 years?
So one thing, the vendors come and we try to limit the type or the number of types of vendors. So like we don't want 20 vendors all who are just selling Funko Pops or something like
Mhm.
that. Now the one exception to that is we'll have about 15 to 20 comic vendors, and they'll all do pretty well because I mean you can go to 15 or 20 different comic booths and it's not the same.
Mhm.
Um, but the word of mouth gets out, and I mean so far we've sold out vendors every year, usually 3 to 4 months before the show, and then we'll go on a wait list. um, and I get a lot of emails like, hey, I met such and such at this show and they said that I really need to do your show. And so it's that word of mouth that really helps, and it's really cool when you hear, you know I mean, I've even had special guests contact me and say, hey, I want to do your show because I was talking to such and such about it. And so it's just a cool networking thing. But our vendor hall has grown, obviously, as our space has grown, going from
Mhm.
11,000 to 140,000 square feet. But we don't just cram as many vendors in there as possible because we want to give the vendors a great chance to make as much as possible, and but still have a good variety of items available to the patrons.
Yeah, awesome. So, like, what's your, like, if money's not an issue, nothing like that. So, what's your ideal goal for the con? Like, if you could be able to set everything up, you got Richie Rich money. Like, you could be able to do that.
So, a lot of people have, said, in time, this is going to be as big as Dragon Con. I'm like, well, that's impossible because Huntsville doesn't even have the infrastructure for that to handle that kind of stuff. But I mean, honestly, it would be nice to, basically take over all of the VBC. We're in the South Hall now, but if we had North Hall and East Hall and, just kind of spread out, but still fill it all up, that would be awesome. And to get the city to get behind us too, like down in Pensacola, they have Pensacon, and the city really gets behind that show. And it's 30 to 40,000 people, and they've grown. But yeah, I'd like to see remnants of the expo spill over into downtown. To see some of the bars and restaurants there do expo specials or something like that. But it's a tricky thing trying to get other people on board.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand. I mean, I think the idea of kind of that nerdum culture has really grown, especially over the last like 10 years or so. But I think having something where they may have a karaoke night or
Right.
a cosplay event, you know what I mean, at a bar, at a local bar, would be like really amazing. But it's all going to come in time. Like you
Right.
said, everything's growing in their own way. Now, for you, what part do you most look forward to with the expo? Like, besides it being over and
Okay.
having to start over
Well,
again.
so funny enough, my favorite part about the show is the day after it, and not because it's done and everything, but because that's the day that I drive out to Kids to Love, who's the charity that we partner with, and write them a check. Our silent auction, 100% of that goes to them, and a portion of the door goes to them. And that's, seeing this fun event be for good. That
Mhm.
was a terribly constructed sentence, but you see what I'm saying.
I got you. I got where you're going.
But then also last year we had our first ever blood drive, and getting the numbers for that. Their goal for us was 51 units, and we did 93. So this year, I'm putting a goal of 150 units on it. But it's the giving back. But also at the show, seeing people, kids to young adults to even grown adults, like getting teary-eyed meeting their heroes and stuff.
Mhm.
Like I've seen some really cool interactions with the special guests and the patrons, and then some people, some of the special guests telling me stories afterwards of things that happen. It's really cool to do something that people can escape reality for a little bit and just enjoy their time.
That is. I know it's a really big bonding moment, especially if you have, like, for me and my son, like, I know he got to see some of his favorite heroes and things like that. And then the cosplayers, they're so awesome too.
Oh yeah.
Because like they'd be walking around and he sees three different Spider-Men and he wants to take pictures with each Spider-Man. And they're like, yeah, of course, come on. Like, and then they'll get in their pose and do everything. So it's really, really awesome that happens from there. So who are some of the guests this year for that? Because I want to be able to make sure that everybody knows how awesome it
Yeah.
is. And
So if you go to hsvexpo.com and click on the guests, you can see our full lineup. But some of the bigger names, like I mentioned earlier, we got Lou Ferrigno coming,
Mhm.
the Incredible Hulk. We've got Leah Thompson coming, who's best known from Back to the Future.
Mhm.
We've got Tom Arnold coming, who's known from 1,000 different things. Eric Estrada, he's coming. Um, some of the comic guests we have coming. We've got Kevin Eastman, who is the creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he actually did we have an exclusive cover for Turtles 127 that features the Turtles at Space Camp on the cover. It's pretty fantastic.
I saw
And
it.
we also have we have Jim Starlin coming, who created Thanos and Drax and a ton of other characters. Really cool guy. We've got lots of people from Walking Dead, Supernatural, the 4 main voice actors from Ruby, plus a couple other characters from Ruby, Dragon Ball Z, My Hero Academia. I mean, all the big animes we have people from. Then wrestlers, we've got legends coming. We've got Kane coming.
Kane is my favorite. I mean, you got Kane, and I was like, all right, I have to. That's my one of my aspirations, my goals right now is to get it like just a little time with Kane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to see where pick his brain.
Right, and so he's our only guest that's Saturday only. Some of the other guests are Saturday and Sunday, but he's just Saturday. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh, I'll just stop breathing. That's probably for the best.
I don't think that would work out well for us, because if you pass out, I mean, the numbers would do great,
That's
but
right.
I don't know.
Watch
So-
here. But yeah, I mean, we've got about 50 guests, other comic creators. We got Brian Silverbacks, Jason Flowers, Mark Nelson, RK Post. One of the cool things is we've got Cybertronic Spree coming. Which, did you catch them in 19 or?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so everybody watching, when you finish this video, go to YouTube and type in Cybertronic Spree Immigrant Song. They're literally a band of Transformers that stay in character the whole time. They're not Joe Blow dressed up like Hot Rod. No, they are Hot Rod and RC and everybody else. And they play awesome music. They've got some original stuff, but they'll play like 90s cartoon theme songs. They'll do like the Pokemon theme song, X-Men theme song, Spider-Man theme song, all these, the Turtles and everything. But they'll be there Saturday and Sunday walking around in costume. But then Saturday night, included with admission, they're doing a concert, and it is a good time. It's a great show.
That sounds amazing. So I pulled up while we were talking. I pulled up the cover that he's doing, and
so cool.
it was awesome. Like that's one of Ninja Turtles was, you know, any kid that grew up in the 80s and 90s, Ninja Turtles had to be one of your favorites, at least for a little bit. So definitely excited about that. So
yeah, and we'll have copies of that available at the merch booth, and then you can go get them to sign it. But basically, I knew that I wanted to get a cover done by Kevin Eastman, because when do you have that opportunity? And so when he asked me what I wanted, I was like, well, I was kind of thinking I wanted Huntsville, so either like the Rocket or them at Space Camp, something like that. And that's all I said. And then he's like, send me some pictures. So I sent some pictures of the Rocket, the shuttle outside, and the inside of the Davidson Center, and that's what he came up with. I mean, I swear he just like pulled it right out of my brain, and I've never been happier with a commission. So yeah,
that is awesome, man. So I know, like, how do you got kids now too? So how do they kind of fit into the expo? Do they have jobs as well?
No, not yet. So my oldest is 12, and my youngest, he'll be 8 at the end of the month. And so Emily will bring them out, and they'll spend some time. But they kind of think it's surreal when they get there, and they're like, "My daddy created all of this." I'm like, I had a thought. Took a lot of hands to do this, but they think it's really neat. And the oldest, he wants to help, but I'm like, you will. I'll let you help someday. Just not quite yet. But he wants to go, like, because I still set up at shows and sell comics, and he wants to come with me. I'm like, dude, you'd be so bored because I wouldn't let you leave. You'd have to sit at the booth the whole time. I was like, eventually, though, maybe when you're 16 or 17, because that way he can carry all the heavy stuff too.
Yeah, especially now, man. Like
I know.
you're like, Man, this is your opportunity. So.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure, man. I really appreciate you taking time, sitting down with me, and being able to just kind of go through your nerdum, going through
Yeah.
how it's awesome to just share that. Is there anything else that we need to know about the expo? Oh, the other thing, I love the fact that you have community tables because I got a community table, so I'll be there to help out as well, to say hello to some of the people that are around there. But anything that you want to say finally?
So, just some final thoughts. We will release the panel schedule this Tuesday, the 12th. Other than that, you can get tickets online at hsvexpo.com. Or if you're local, you can go to Haven Comics and get them. Also, we still could use more volunteers. No experience necessary. If you're interested in that, just shoot me a message on the expo page, or you could actually sign up from the website there. So, but yeah, never too late. I mean, you can show up the day of the show and say, "Hey, I want to help," and we'll stick you somewhere.
And there it
This
is.
is a big thing. So yeah, but dude, I appreciate you having me on,
Yeah.
and hope I wasn't too much of a pain.
Oh no, man! I just wanted to make sure we got you out of here without you passing out or just being in too much pain. So get you
Yeah,
back to like a a lateral position where you can just
right.
be able to just chill out. So
Yeah,
um, for everybody here at the Blerd Syndicate and actually with the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo, we want to say thank you so much and continue to be with that BS. All right.
see you guys.